Welcome to the Transformation Perspective. This is season 2, episode 1. And yes, this season we are talking about mental health. And today is going to be a very personal story from me. So today's episode is called, it's going to be my personal sexual harassment experience. So I'm going to talk about what happened to me at the workplace being sexually harassed. It's not pleasant. It's not pretty. I don't wish it upon anybody else. Um, yeah, it's going to get emotional. It's going to get real. And if anyone else has experienced that, I feel for you, and your feelings are very valid about what happened to you. If you're joining me on TikTok, Instagram, whatever social media platform, remember all my full episodes, since TikTok's only 10 minutes long, all full episodes can be found on my YouTube channel. So, and this is going to probably be a little bit longer than 10 minutes. So, without further ado, I do want to put out a disclaimer though for those that are watching. So this episode may be triggering for those in the process of healing their own mental health currently. So please step away if you are triggered. Reach out to your support group, have them next to you, whoever it might be, or multiple people for that matter. Because I don't want to trigger you. That's not the goal here. It's all about a healing process in this. Your feelings are valid in this moment too. And please, please take care of yourself if you do get triggered and continue on your journey for healing. So without further ado, let's get to a personal story because it's all about mental health and how we get here. So two big events in my life really are trauma related to my sexual harassment towards me, as well as personal trauma that I did to myself being transgender. And maybe you're wondering, like, how is that possible? That's another whole series in itself. That is something cannot be done in one episode. Oops, sorry. That's a long process to uncover. This one dates back to specifically. I don't want to go into the exact date, but I do know the exact date. But it was basically October of 2022. I just came out to friends, family, basically the entire world. And, it felt great. It was awesome. And I came out to my school, and it was going to be my first year as Miss. And it was going great for the first 6 weeks until that faithful day. Maybe you wouldn't say that if you're in a trauma situation, but it did set the course for who I am today. Like, there's a positive and a negative. And without this event, I'm not the same person that I once was. So I guess in the weird sense, sometimes when you get to the point in your healing process, now, don't get me wrong, I never want to see this person ever again. I don't want to cross paths with them. I don't want to socialize with them. Nothing like that. But I've come to the grips of the healing process of forgiving them because I need to move on and to heal. Because without it, like I said, I don't heal this way, and I don't get to the point in my life to where I am. So what ends up happening is it happened on a Friday with no students around. So it was done by another coworker, um, without my knowledge. And basically a inappropriate picture was taken of me. Take a breath, because this is a lot. I've talked to my friends about this, but never really to the world. I've talked to therapists about it. But when you have to be vulnerable to almost the entire world to see, it's a different vulnerability. The context behind it is, I never really asked. You don't get to choose your body as a trans person. So that's part of it. I don't get to choose my anatomy as a trans person. Some trans people are okay with it. Some trans people are not okay with their anatomy. I'll be quite frank. I'm one of those trans people that has a lot of dysphoria, and I'm not okay with it. And to take an inappropriate picture of anatomy part that I can't control, I don't want, and it tends to show through clothing, like male football players. That was my argument to my administration. And they said that's not relevant, but I said that's the same. Or if a male teacher wore shorts, it still shows. So what is the difference then? I'm just trying to be me. I'm not trying to expose anything. I just want to live my life. So apparently what happened was this coworker decided to take this picture because they felt the other teacher I was working with looked like they were not happy. Well, then, hindsight's 2020. You go back and look at it. You can look at it and say, why don't you just go ask them? Why cause harm to somebody? So then what happened was they took the picture, and instead of sending it to the administration to maybe just try to resolve it right away, they sent it to another coworker who then sent it to friends in the community. And if you understand where I'm going with this, on a Friday afternoon, when you have a whole weekend now, everyone goes home for the weekend. Everyone's thinking, hey, it's great. Hey, have a great weekend. See everybody on Monday. Students will be back. I ain't got a clue what just happened. Because apparently it happened an hour before we were done for the day, around 2 p.m. And what I found out later was pretty much most of the staff knew as we were walking out. In an hour time, it circulated around the community, and most of the staff already had seen the picture. And I had no clue. So what ends up happening is I go through the weekend and I come back to school on Monday, and my administrator approaches me during my planning period and says I'm being accused of indecent exposure in my classroom. That is extremely difficult to hear because I didn't think there was anything wrong. Nothing was brought to my attention for the first 6-7 weeks. Parent teacher conferences were just the week prior. And yeah, I could tell tension. I could tell it. And then this comes out. These are serious allegations towards me. Needless to say, once my administrator left, I just kind of broke down and just cried and cried. And I had to teach the rest of the day. I don't know how I taught. I didn't really teach. I just kind of went through the motions and got through the rest of the day because how is a teacher supposed to get through the rest of the day when you accuse them of indecent exposure? And so that's running through your head. Like, I thought everything was okay. And then the next day I get called into the office of my administrator and I get accused again. Because why? Because I'm trans. Because students are uncomfortable in the classroom. So once again, I go home and I'm just in disbelief. Like, what is happening? Things are starting to spiral and things get even worse because then on Wednesday, I get called into my administrative office again. And once again, I'm accused, but this time I bring a union rep because this is getting out of hand. And the picture's shown to me. The picture's zoomed in. It's like just it's the image is ingrained in my head and I can't get it out of my head. It doesn't matter how many times I talk about it. It doesn't matter how much therapy I go through it. It's ingrained in my head. Now, apparently it wasn't the original after the investigation. It wasn't the original copy. I did end up seeing the original copy, but someone cropped the photo and sent the zoomed in copy to my administrator. But all it is just blown up image of my male anatomy. You don't really know what to feel at that moment. Third straight day of these allegations. And where it starts to go now is my administrators are now saying, well, this is your fault. You need to, you have students have their cell phones out in your classroom and they're taking pictures. You got to get a hold of your cell phone policy in your classroom. And, you got to be cautious about what you wear. So now I'm getting dress coded. And then I get a lecture about, well, if we wore the same dress, Harper, and you turned one way and I turned the same way, you're going to show something that I don't have. That one hurts. That one hurts. My journey as a trans woman is my journey. How fast or how slow I take it is my journey. You have no idea what dysphoria does to me. And now you accuse me of a dress code violation. And if I move certain ways, I have anatomy that shows off, and I can't control that. So I'm the one who has to be blamed. I didn't take this picture, but I'm the one who's getting blamed. And I don't know anybody else out there. If you've been sexually harassed and you're the victim. And let me make this very crystal clear. If you have been sexually harassed, you are the victim. Do not let your employer, let the perpetrator tell you otherwise, that, oh, you brought this upon yourself. Yes, statistics show that majority of the victims are women. Men can get sexually harassed too. All ages can get harassed. All genders, all races, all ethnicities, everybody can. So we put them in the categories of victims and the perpetrator. The victim is the victim. They are not the perpetrator. So me sitting in that meeting on Wednesday, I'm getting accused of indecent exposure. I'm getting accused of dress coding, of the handbook, and how violated of that I am. How I'm the problem. Because it happened in my classroom. And this is where the story gets interesting. Because this whole time they think it's a student. They show me and my union rep the picture again. I look at the seating and I said, that's not the seating in my classroom. And literally the administrator takes the phone from me, showing me, and goes, yes, it is. I said, no, that's not my classroom. That looks like the cafeteria seating, my bad. I'm like, no, that's your classroom. And they kept on with this story. And I said, no, that is the cafeteria. And they're like, well, when would you have been in the cafeteria? I was like, I don't know. Well, right now I've gone 3 straight days of accusations of indecent exposure. The victim now the perpetrator and the assailant in this, right? Do you think anything of recollection of what I was wearing, time frame? Luckily, I had a union rep there. And they had an amazing memory because they were like, Harper, you were wearing that outfit on Friday at PD, and all the teachers were in the cafeteria. And we looked at the picture one more time, and I said, yeah, I do believe you are correct. That is when I was in the cafeteria. And I looked straight at my administrators, and the tone of my voice snapped. And I was like, you got a big problem on your hand. This is not a student. This is a coworker. This conversation changes. What are you going to do about it? And it's amazing how quickly, when an administrator or your boss, and if anyone's out there that has been the victim of sexual harassment in the workplace or anywhere for that matter, and you are the one who gets blamed. Well, you wore the outfit, or you did this, or you did that. Once you start showing the proof, they go on the defensive. And it's amazing how quickly they go on the defensive. And I told them, I said, who's calling the police? You or me? Oh, well, no, 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 no. No one needs to call the police. I said, how else are you going to trace this? Oh, I don't think we can trace it. Oh, so like 30 seconds ago, you wanted to throw me into the fire and literally fire me and probably have me arrested. But now that I turn this on you and how bad of a reputation you're going to have of sexual harassment on your hands, it's a different story. Now, why this act is all happening, there's no time to feel these emotions. And maybe someone else out there can share this with me and how you went through it. But this is just my experiencing. I didn't have time to process these emotions. I went from super confused, being accused, and just like, what is happening to my life? Like, I'm going to lose my teaching license. I'm going to be thrown in jail. I'm never going to see my kids again. I don't know what I'm going to do. To all of a sudden, like, no, that's the cafeteria, to all of a sudden getting angry, not even having a chance to process anything. So then Thursday, I go on the offensive, and I I write an email to my administrator and saying, "What are you doing about this?" And then they're like, "You need to calm down." More was said about that, but I legally I can't go into details. And then Friday, no, another administrator comes to me and says, "Look, yeah, this is a serious case. So, here you go, Harper. Do you want to file a Title IX investigation, or should we?" I said, "I'm more than happy to sign that investigation." So then there was a Title IX investigation. You have legal rights. Now, of course, now I'm 24 minutes into this video cast, and I still haven't even got to my emotions yet because, well, I have a little bit, but it takes a lot. A lot of times what happens in these moments is those emotions get put aside and we don't want to feel them. And a lot of it starts to come out as anger. You're mad at the school, you're mad at whoever did this, you want to know who did this, but then the microaggressions upon yourself start to take over because now it's fear. Fear starts to drive me into isolation. I didn't know who to trust at school. It was complete fear driven. Like, I'm staying in my classroom. I don't trust anybody. I told my administration, I don't want to go to staff meetings. I don't trust anybody at staff meetings. Well, how about you sit in the back? Can I be the last one to enter? And nobody sits by me? I don't trust anybody. I'm going through hell right now. What I did from October until the end of the semester in January, mind you, I took a leave of absence. I took FMLA. And if you have sick days and you have FMLA, take it. Take it for your mental health. Please take your FMLA for mental health. If your company offers it, or if you have your sick time, take it. Especially if you've gone through a lot of trauma. I should have took it earlier. So what ends up happening is I literally stayed in my classroom from October until end of the semester in January. I did not really come out. I basically walked into the school. I went to my classroom, and the only time I left my classroom was to use the restroom, and that was it. I didn't want to talk to any teachers, and when I left, I was out. The teachers who I thought I built rapport with, couldn't do it because I didn't know who to trust anymore. It took a while for me to really start to feel any kind of emotions about this. Sorry about that. Talking a while. There was other stuff going on in school, but that's not relevant to this. But it did contribute to it. I couldn't tell you when. I actually started to feel it. But I think it was like December. And then the floodgates just opened. And so almost 2 months goes by, and you're just the fear, and you never let yourself really process the emotions of that image taken of you and why someone wanted to take a picture of your male reproductive anatomy and then share it around the community. So the world can see and say, look at this monster. I don't know the time. I don't know the date when it finally hit me. I just remember I was in the shower and all of a sudden the floodgates hit me and I started not just crying, wailing. I literally started wailing. I started feeling it so much. And what it felt like, what that sexual harassment felt like, what that feeling of seeing that image of what that perpetrator did to me, all right? What that perpetrator did to me, what that perpetrator took from me, that I've had to go through a long healing process was in that moment, finally being able to feel it, I felt like my humanity was being stripped off me. Like my perpetrator was peeling the layers of skin off my body. And I could feel that pain. It hurt so much to feel less of a human being. Because another human being thought it was a good idea to say, hey, there's a trans woman over there with male reproductive organs still. Let's take a picture of her and let's send it around the community. I can't speak for them. I can't justify their actions. All I can justify is how I feel. And it felt like they literally were taking a knife and slowly peeling layer by layer of skin off me to make me no longer a human. And I kept feeling that and kept feeling that. And yet I had to go back to work. And I still didn't know who it was. The crazy thing is, once I did find out how many times I entered that person's room to have a conversation with them. To be mere feet from them. To continue to work with them. They know what they did to me. Everybody else, basically in the school, knew what they did to me, except for me. I was in the hiding. I think the hiding really was doing a number on my mental health and how I was feeling, on top of feeling like I wasn't human anymore. So if you've ever been sexually harassed, your feelings are valid. And I'm so sorry that you've had to go through that. And know this, you're not alone in your journey. And maybe you're not ready to speak. Maybe you're not ready to share. Maybe you're not ready to tell anybody. Maybe it's just inside you and it's eating away at you. And you're watching this. Maybe it plants a seed of courage, plants a seed of bravery. I don't know. But know this, you are loved. You are brave. You are strong, and I am proud of you. Even if I don't know who you are, I'm still proud of you. You've come a long way. You shouldn't have been treated like that. Nobody should. You are a human being. You have emotions. You have feelings. And it happened. It happened to you. It happened to me. And unfortunately, it continues to happen. And that's why I want to bring awareness to it. It's hard to talk about this stuff. It really, really is. But after my second disassociation in 21 months, add a suicide attempt in there too, which I'm going to talk about too. That's going to be really triggering. I know. But these topics are so critical to not be taboo anymore. I've done a lot of healing. And this is a hard step for me to share with the entire world, even though I don't have that many views, but that's okay. It's out there. I want to be open. I want to be vulnerable. I don't want to hide anymore. Not just hiding as trans, hiding anything. And I'm going to get to that, of that personal trauma I did to myself of hiding, because it does a number. I don't want to hide. I'm tired of that. I'm tired of that personal trauma I keep causing to myself. So being vulnerable and sharing and getting emotional with the entire world to see, and you know what? The hate comments come out, fine. Let them come. But there's always a positive in a negative. The hate comments can come left and right. But at the end of the day, I feel so much better. There's always a positive and a negative. Because if you look for a negative in a positive, you're going to get electrocuted. A little science joke, especially those who are into science or teach science like me and teach those studies. So just saying. That basically brings me to my mental health of 2023, of my first disassociation. Once I felt it, once that day hit in the shower of absolutely feeling it, like my skin was being peeled off, and like what I can feel is like literally like 2 layers of skin just being peeled off. That's what it feels like. I can still feel it. I can still see that picture sitting in my administrator's room, ingrained in my head. 2 layers just being peeled off in the shower and just getting rinsed down. It's painful. I had to feel it. I know it's tough. I know it's really tough to feel it if you haven't yet. And it's okay. It is okay if you have not. And I hope this analogy I'm going to give you can make a difference in your life. Your feelings, your emotions, what you're going through. Think of it as like a house. Whatever you're feeling, you're trying to keep in, keep out, whatever you're trying to do, those nasty, icky feelings that you've got, that you don't want to feel. I don't want to feel the sexual harassment. I don't want to feel the trauma. What the analogy is you're like trying to hold that door. You're trying to barricade that door, barricade that window, whatever you're trying to do. Every piece of furniture in your house. And it's getting harder and harder to barricade. And it wants to come in and it's getting harder and you're losing hope. You're losing struggle. What if you tried this? A positive approach. Just like a guest you invite in, you can ask it to leave. What if, I know it's scary. It is really scary. But you don't have to let it be there for a while. You take whatever furniture, whatever barricades that you've put up in front of your doors and windows, so those emotions that you don't want to feel, you tell those emotions and feelings, say, all right, I'm going to invite you in so I can feel you. And the beauty thing about when you finally invite them in, you can ask them to leave. Just like any guest that comes to your house, it's time to leave. Gotta put my kids to bed. I gotta work tomorrow. Whatever it might be. I don't know. You can ask them to leave. You're in an argument, like, go home, leave, get out of my house. Try it with your emotions. Try it with your feelings. Let them come in. Ask them to come in. Don't just open the door. Say, hey, come on in. And maybe it's for 3 seconds. And you're like, okay, that was good enough. I need you to leave now. That's my advice. If it's sexual harassment, I'm really sorry. And I felt it. And that led me to my disassociation. All the Title IX investigation, finding out finally who did it, and realizing, holy crap, I was working with them on a daily basis and I couldn't avoid it. That just, it ultimately broke me. On top of that, with the divorce happening, my mind ran and my mental health just deteriorated quickly. So I really hope this was helpful in some way, some form, because it wasn't easy for me. Like I said, I've talked to my friends, I've talked to them about this experience, I've talked to therapists about this. But it felt like it was time for me to take that next step and share my experience and maybe help someone else. So I have done a lot of healing. I try to find the positives in it. It took a lot of healing to forgive the perpetrator. I don't have to like them. I don't have to get along with them. I don't have to work with them anymore. I don't want to ever see them. But I forgive them. And I kind of almost say, thank you. Because if it wasn't for them, I don't have a mental health crisis. I guess it's the wrong way to say that. Crisis sounds so negative. I hate negative stuff. I don't have a mental health like falling apart moment. and I don't get to the point where I'm here to try to help others and make a better future for my children. So thank you. You did this. And now I'm going to take that opportunity and take it into a positive. Because there's always a positive within a negative. And that's what I'm doing. I am taking a negative situation and finding it a positive, and I'm going to run with it. Because this girl loves to do such things. So hopefully this wasn't so triggering, and hopefully this was helpful. And please reach out to your support groups. Please do some self-care. Box breathing, 5 senses, 5 things you can see. I think it's 4 sounds, 4 things you can touch, 3 sounds. I don't know. I think it's 1 thing you can taste and 1 thing you can, I don't know, but the 5 senses. It's been a long day. Sorry if I got this 5 senses completely wrong. Cold, compressed, ice. Okay. Whatever you get, change the temperature. Tip, change the temperature. Count backwards by 7s from 100. Whatever strategies you need, coping strategies you need. All right, meditate, call a friend, reach out to a support group. Bracelet that I wear every single day. I never take it off. 988. All right, suicide hotline. Text them 24/7. Someone will reach back free. Okay? Please take care of yourselves. Mental health should not be a negative stigma, should not be a negative connotation. I'm Harper, and I'm trying to make mental health awareness a positive thing going forward. So please join me. It's going to be an emotional ride. This is only episode 1, and we talked about a deep topic. Please like it, share it, subscribe it, tell your friends this season's all about mental health. It is the dark days of winter are coming, right? And we all know this is the hardest time of the year, right? If you're in the northern hemisphere, I'm guessing the opposite during summer months in the northern hemisphere, in the southern hemisphere. So same thing, right? We all need something. What are 3 things you're grateful for before you go to bed tonight? What are 3 things you are grateful for? And that's how you should sign off for the night. With that being said, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for the comments, because even if you make negative ones or positive ones, thank you. You took time to watch, and I really do appreciate all of you. And I appreciate all my support group friends. I love you, and thank you for getting me to where I am on my journey. See you next time.